Who needs RSO in your life when you have fresh frozen extracts, huh?
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that too.
Cheers, everybody, and welcome to the Michigan Bros Grow Show, episode 270. We are your hosts for Girly. Terra Nation will be here soon, I'm sure. Nut Trees joining us, Russ and Emily down there, and a little special guest tonight, Chuck D's Nugs. Also a Michigan grower, a bro, as
Also a
you might
Michigan
say.
bro.
Yeah, and also a winner of a GML light off of the fucking GML podcast.
Oh,
What,
yeah.
like a year and a half ago? How long has it been
Yep.
since you won that thing?
It's probably been about a year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Hell
I
yeah.
remember just being in that podcast, or I think I was on the show actually, and just seeing her name pop up, like, no shit. That's
I
so
love when
cool to
that
see,
shit happens.
right?
And I just happened to be looking at lights at the time, so it all worked out. So
Cool.
Well, shoot, even if you weren't, you know what I mean? I mean, that's the icing on the cake for sure. But even if you weren't, a GML light at any point for free is a little bit of a cherry on top.
Yeah, we're starting to get a lot of traction right now too, man. Like Jeremy from Build a Soil is doing a side by side with them right now with our tent lights.
Nice.
It's looking pretty fucking sweet. Mr. Growit just finished an interview with Thomas from GML, and so he's probably going to get a discount code for us and be working with us. We just brought Heston Flora Farms on board. He's another employee. We've been training him for the last couple of weeks on answering questions and stuff like that, helping us out so I can just focus on shipping things. Answering questions and stuff like that, helping us. So yeah, we're doing good and growing fast, and we're actually on the lookout for a bigger facility in Jackson so that we can onboard nutrients as well. So because that's going to be the next thing.
That's awesome. Are you trying to now? You don't have to go climate controlled for that, do you?
No. One of the things I want to have, obviously, is a dock or ability to build one, because we'll be bringing in like container loads at a time of the different nutrients. Probably one of each is like the smallest of the orders you can make. So we need a bigger facility. We've been looking at like one we were just looking at was 30,000 square feet. So big facilities, but it'd be great for me because I got all the room in the world to fucking organize shit, and that's my jam, man. Right now I'm in a smaller facility and it's getting full already. So
how many square feet are you in now?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I need to actually Google it on the address or whatever, but it's not even 10,000. It's like under 5.
Okay.
I think
more like one of those like industrial plaza type, kind of like a mechanic shop almost would be, you know?
Yeah, about that size. And it's like it's working for lights, but if we're going to throw in nutrients too, I just don't have the space. So
it'd be a bonus if you already have a shipping dock or something already there. It would be
seriously
exactly. So we're looking at places like that, and make my life a lot easier too to unload things. That'd be way easier.
You got that high-low cert?
Oh yeah, I always did. In Michigan, what are you talking about? I'm a factory boy.
I'm not sure when that was a requirement, the high-low certifications, but I learned in my family business at about 10 years old how to drive a high-low, and I don't remember there being any certifications, but I'm pretty sure they just weren't going to certify me at 10 years old anyway. So
they just most companies just make up their own whatever the test is, and that's their own idea of it.
Oh, okay. So it's not like an OSHA requirement to like.
Dude, no, I just found out that
it kind of is, but not really.
It doesn't transfer job to job. You can't go and get like forklift certified at one job and take that certification to the next.
Exactly.
So it is up to the like company then, because I know like crane operations. I learned recently like pretty much every single crane is different. So like you can't just be a crane operator for one company and then go work in another state for another company. Like you have to get recertified, retrained, and the whole thing all over again.
Same can
and
be
at that
said,
point there's.
Same can be said for the forklifts. There's a lot of different versions, and
yeah, propane, electric, yeah,
for sure. And basically it's like a road test. You get on it and you say, they say, dude, tilt the forks, do this, do that, to grab that pallet and bring it down that ramp, and make sure you're driving the right direction and down the ramp.
Don't put a fork through the garage door.
If you can't see going forward, just go backwards so you can see.
Lay on your horn and hit the gas, and you're good.
Yeah. Get out of my way. Well, one of the reasons Chuck is joining us tonight is because he will be managing the Ferroli booth this weekend at the Third Eye Craft Affair. So I'm very thankful for him for taking over that. And really, I mean, this is the second time in a row he's done it. I just haven't been able to get out there. First time, my whole family was sick. This time, I'm not going to be available. So I appreciate you doing that, Chuck. So make sure you guys come and look for. Where is it? Over so right there, back behind me, all those jars there. Plenty of single stores, a couple collabs as well. We got some THCA, some sausage batter, whatever.
So what's the flavors? You just say, "Oh, I got some shit." What do you got?
Garlic punch, lime skunk, and raspberry parfait. I got it.
You got it.
Right now.
You got it.
They all look pretty similar.
Yeah, they're. I mean, well, you tell me, man. There's so here's raspberry parfait, and these are new jars. These are actually the PopVac jars.
I was just gonna say those are a different jar, man. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been
white.
kind of I've been sitting on these for a minute. You know, I always got to go as white as possible, but it's got that little click there.
I like the circle too.
That's
I like that click.
I guess I should do it by the mic, not the camera.
Yeah, I like that click.
So you know it's close.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's a little haptic feedback.
It's not child proof, like you gotta push down with it, or is it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, otherwise it's just gonna keep spinning. You know.
Okay.
So it's got that little control lock on there, child-proof lock. I like to call it the Ferroli-proof packaging. Here's your garlic punch.
That looks fantastic.
And a little bit lighter in the color there. And then we've got our Cobra milk, which I know, well, everyone should know at this point that this comes from, this one's juicy. Oh boy. This comes from Spartan Grown himself. The cut there. Look at that juice.
Pheno hunted it. He don't let him sell himself short. He grew that shit.
I wouldn't have without you.
I just Pheno hunted it. That's all I did.
Well, that's fucking 3/4 of the job right there. And then last but not least, we got the lime skunk, which this is extremely limited. So if you do want any of this at all, you better be first in line. I'm not kidding you. And then shout out 321. I've got a couple of his, the collabs we did package up. This one is a Death Star.
Oh, Death Star. Nice.
Nice.
And then last but not least, in terms of the ones that are packaged, this is a, oh God, it's so funky. This one is a,
what was fun? The Death Star?
The Death Star. Yeah, the Death Star. It's got like a weird, almost sour finish. Say again?
The Death Star, was that like a chunkier consistency? It looked thicker.
I would almost a little bit drier, I'd say.
Okay.
So to me, that just means more THC to terp or then terp ratio. You know what I mean? This one, you tell me about what you think of comparison to the consistency previously. This is Death Star, but also combined with apples and bananas. So I think there's a little bit more juicy terps in there. Kind of almost looks more saucy.
Okay.
That's more applesaucey right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%.
I think I just didn't have the right term for the difference I saw in them. That drier, I think, is what I saw.
Still got to package up these diamonds, but you know,
nice.
THCA will be there too. I had to separate off some terps for a friend.
Nice.
What's that terp? What's that smell like when you pop the top? Oh my God.
I'm too scared to.
What day is this Third Eye Craft Fair again?
Saturday, February 22nd in Lansing, Michigan at the Fledge. I think it's from Chuck. You tell me, is it 12 to 6? Okay.
Yeah.
12 to 6.
Yeah, be there at noon. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I just seen Third Eye posted if you use for Growley's post when you're at the door, you get $3 off your entrance.
Yeah, spread that news. That was a surprise to me.
Yeah.
I had to go up there and stuff for Growley's post. Take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
So I just want to ask this question before I decide if I go up there or not. You know, you said for Growley, you said, for example, the lime skunk. If you wanted to get some lime skunk, you'd have to get there really early. Is there an or you have to know the guy real well and maybe put one aside for you?
You might have to talk to Chuck on that one. Actually, I won't be there, so he's going to be the one putting things aside. You know what I'm saying? And honestly, and honestly, Chuck might be getting the ball in the first minute.
Yeah, he's like, wait a minute,
there's not many.
He didn't give me any lime skunk. What are you talking
I
about?
got none of those. We don't have any lime skunk. What are you talking about, man?
There's not many, so you better be quick.
Yeah.
Cheers, Red. I didn't see it out
Cheers,
there.
Red.
What's up, guys? I just popped in.
What's up,
Hey,
man?
hey. Yeah,
Are you
I
going to
was
be
just-
there this weekend?
I will be at Third Eye Crafted Fair this weekend.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Excuse me.
What kind of,
Big Jar's gonna roll with me there too.
Big job.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Cool, man. I haven't seen him in a minute.
What kind of flavors you bringing, Red? What's ready?
What's Ready Red? What's Ready
We
Red guy?
got, off the top of my head, Rainbow Driver, grape jelly. It's gonna be a little bit of strawberries and cream. We're just getting started with the harvest, so we're not gonna have. We just harvested like a month ago, so everything's from last month's batch. So, kind of down to not much of any of that left, really. So,
Man,
Except-
how did that work out for you? You know, planning with baby coming and everything. Were you planning to have the harvest like beforehand, or do you still have?
Yeah, you had 9 months to plan. Did you plan around it or what?
Well, I'm more so wondering, did it line up? Did it work out so that you guys got a little bit of a break in the garden, or?
No, yeah. I mean, we just the way the market's been. I mean, we've shut down like 3/4 of our grow for the most part. I mean, we've only been growing one section of our grow just for a lot of reasons, and then, not having as much work to do. I mean, really, it's just been mother maintenance, keeping up. We've been doing this pheno hunt. Pheno hunting has just been, taking up a ton of our space.
It's literally 3/4 of the work, right?
Yeah,
Spartan?
and I mean that's why it's so hard to answer that question, just because it's like so much. We have so many like peanut butter souffle, 5 different rainbow belts, DJ Short blueberry, bunch of different smalls, dub bub. There's just so many strains, it's so much overwhelming, but it's finally getting things narrowed down is nice. So
Well, Chuck knows a
I
little
would
bit
say-
about that. How do you feel about pheno hunting right now, Chuck?
Yeah, probably the same thing. I got a whole bunch of new strains that just popped seeds of, so had to make room for more plants that I intended on having room for, and popping tents back up. And
Oh shit! But you got that one 2-layer tent. I thought that thing was pretty sick.
I do, and
you didn't.
unfortunately, I had to kind of deassemble that because I ran out of. They got too big. I didn't flip them quick enough to try and flower in that little tent.
Okay, you were gonna flower in that thing? 2 layers?
Hell yeah, I was. Hell yeah, I
Fuck
was.
yeah, dude! I didn't know that.
I was gonna attempt it, but not this time. You never know if it's gonna work until you try, right?
All right. Well, approximately how many seeds did you guys pop? Because even one full pack is kind of a lot. You know what I mean? Just for like a small home grower.
are you asking both of us or Chuck?
Yeah. Both of you guys.
I was counting.
I'll let Chuck answer first. Mine was
I mean, in total, I probably did like 50 to 60 seeds, but I had a couple of old packs. I had like 2 old packs from Leaf Doctor. None of those seeds popped. Just a lot of old shit I was trying to pop before they got too old, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But out of all the seeds I popped, I probably got 25 to 30 seeds I got to deal with.
Speaking of old packs, J5's popping some 10-year-old lime skunk, and a 10-plus-year-old, I
shit.
should say.
Yeah.
That's when it came out, 2015. I think that's the pack we got, 2015, or I think we popped them in 2016, but got them in 2015, something like that. The Colorado High Times Cannabis Cup.
That's fucking cool. I'm excited.
well, last Sunday. I went out to my shop and my timer failed, and my mother.
Oh shit.
Ooh, wait,
I hadn't been out
wait.
there.
The res? Did the res overfill, or are we talking lights?
What time?
No timer on my fertigation. So my timer on my reservoir, it didn't overfill. It didn't
Just go outbound.
plants. So all my plants got a really gnarly dry back, and I went out there and I thought they were all dead. And that one Apollo 13 plant that took me 2 years to finally get some flower off of, that's like the Apollo 13 that I remember that I was growing. It's just a better version. One last freaking little seed in that thing. I've had that pack of seeds for a decade, you know what I mean? And I soaked that one little seed and popped it, you know, and it worked. And I didn't even take a cut off of that thing for like 2 years because it was just like sitting back with my microgreens and shit here. It wasn't even like in the production because I was trying to keep an eye on it. And then finally, when we did our pheno hunt last year, I grew it because we were growing other plants here. And I was like, all right, we're growing plants here again. And I got back into it, you know, and it was just chilling. It was just like chilling off to the side, not getting big, not getting smaller. You just chilling, you know. I took some clones and that fucker's nice. Like even 2 years later, neglected, everything. Like I was blown away. And it was dead, dude. I mean, so dead as a doornail. And I was so bummed because like I missed that Apollo 13. It's so cheesy. It's like moon cheese. It is like skunky, funky. It's really good. It was I think I said Cosa Farms before when I brought it up, but it's Motor Rebel. It was Motor Rebel Apollo 13 F4, and I think they used Brother Grimstock or something like that to make it, but it was just so good, and it fucking died, dude. But it didn't. I shouldn't say it died. It was dead. It was dying. It was to the point to where I went back a couple days later. I kind of left everything. You know, I was just like, I gave everything water. I ordered a new timer. I went back the next, 2 days later or whatever, and it was like the only plant that was just like lifeless. You know what I mean? Everything else came back to health, even though everything was looking pretty dire, need of water, you know, looking pretty dried out. But I like overwatered the fuck out of everything and left it for let it just like sit in like an inch of nutrient solution for like a day. And when I came back, everything was fine. You know, obviously there's some dead leaves on the undercarriage and they're not very happy. Shouldn't take clones off of any of them anytime soon. It's not really the space I take clones off of anyway. Fortunately, it's just like my holding space. I take moms and I put them into another area and I let them grow, and then I take clones off of those moms. So it's kind of just like a holding space for genetics. You know what I mean?
Like a mom.
Unfortunately, it's all relying on the same timer. You know what I mean? I maybe should add some redundancy in this space. But anyways,
how do you do that with a fertigation timer? You know what I mean?
I have two timers.
I could add two timers. I mean, rather than hooking it all
like
up
two
to one
reservoirs,
timer, just hook up half of it to a timer, half of it to because it's two separate shelves being ran off two separate pumps. It's just one timer has two outlets on it. So I mean,
yeah,
it's actually two pumps. So, and I don't do like I'm not using the sprinkler timer setup or any of that shit. You know what I mean? Nothing expensive. I mean, I'm using a digital wall, a digital timer that has the option for minutes, seconds. I want to only fertigate for like 25 seconds at a time. A minute and 25 is too much. You get too much runoff. I don't want any runoff. I'm trying to limit tiny amounts of runoff. That way I don't have to fucking get it out of there. You know what I mean? Then you got to dump it out, wasting resources. So I run a very low EC. And I only run like 25 seconds, but I run, every couple hours. I give it a good, little bit of fertigation. I'm getting distracted because I was looking to see if Tara was here. She actually asked me a question earlier that kind of pertained to fertigating plants and stuff like that. And I'll wait till she's here to talk about that, but it's something we could talk about. Speaking of hydro and plants drying back to the points where they can die. Excuse me. And that just being an experience that I had this week. That's one of those, risks of automation, right? Automate, it's nice. You can, leave your grow unattended for, a day or two. You can go on vacation a little easier, but
sometimes for 10.
Yeah, I mean, if I fill and top everything off, I could go on like almost a 2-week vacation, maybe. Assuming that everything's like really well watered, ahead of time.
To start,
like,
yeah.
Yep. And another couple tricks is like, don't be in the middle of a time frame where you have to do some trellising and pruning. Don't be in the middle of a time. And then another one is like,
don't be the first.
Back everything. If you cut back your mothers and everything, and cut back all your veg, and then
turn down the lights, dim them
a little bit, give them a little less fertigation than what they usually need. You know what I mean? And just maybe stress your plants out a little bit. But I mean, it's better than them dying. And
yeah.
The
Dude,
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, there's definitely a few tips in there that I think everyone should really kind of be aware of. One of them is dimming your lights because they're going to drink less. Now, yeah, maybe you won't be giving them the 100% that they, could have achieved. But it's, again, like, this all goes back to it's better than them dying, like Red said. So feeding them, having the automatic watering system, turning down the lights, having them real well watered in beforehand in case your reservoirs maybe aren't going to make it. So you have to feed them a little bit later. Having those digital timers that you can feed based on seconds, not minutes. That's huge. You don't want to feed for, 15 minutes at a time. Even if you got drippers on there, it's kind of a lot less control there at that point. And especially when it comes to veg and even flower too, thinning up, whether that's just deleafing in flower, but thinning up in veg, cloning, topping, that kind of thing right before you leave is going to stress them enough to the point where they're not going to be just going full 100%. Let's grow. So all those things combined really kind of slow the garden down. But ultimately, Chuck, it's, sometimes you got to have plan B. Sometimes you got to have someone there to be able to check on things, right? And I've done it. I've gone over 10 days before, I think more than once, without having a soul walk into the garden and just electronics and mechanics running the thing, and everything worked out great. But oh boy, is that a scary thing, huh, Red?
Yeah, I mean, generally I'm not gone long enough for things like to, run out of water enough to die. I mean, there's enough fertigation and there's enough time in between. But like anything grows was asking, did we make any preparations for being gone and having the baby? I mean, a lot of the preparations are just topping off all of our reservoirs, making sure everything's filled up, and in preparation basically for us to go on vacation. And so that's it's kind of a normal thing for us to have to break away if we have to do an event for a weekend or something like that. So I always prepare every time I leave the shop. I make sure that everything's filled up enough to leave for 5-6 a week. In some cases I would prefer to have everything filled up enough so I can be gone for a week, and that's just in case of an emergency. If I'm unable to get back to the shop for whatever reason, I can't get back there. Now
I think Rolly said it earlier too, but that's a really good tip to like turn your lights down to like 50%. If you're going to be gone for 2-3 days and you turn the light down, it's going to drink so much less and it's going to buy you so much time. If you do that, you can keep the light cycle because you're still going 50%. You're not going to suffer 2-3 days of it, but
I wouldn't even do it for 2 or 3 days. I would say if you're gone for longer than a weekend, and granted, again, if you don't have an automatic watering system set up, then yes, turn that shit down, water them, they're very heavy, and you're probably going to make it through a weekend without having to water them at all, even if it's like a daily water type plant, which just about all mine are. But there's workarounds, and if you have to go longer, that's definitely when you're going to want to turn them down quite a bit.
I like to time my up potting and things like that when I'm going to go on vacation. If I can up pot my plants right before I go on vacation, that'll usually buy me time. And then I just water the new substrate really, really well because the roots haven't taken over that new substrate yet. They're not feeding off of it. As long as you don't have like a lot of evaporation happening, you know, you can usually get a lot of moisture retention just by not having the roots taking up that space, you know.
I'm going to butt in here. Because I agree with you, but in my experience, there's been a couple times where I've up potted from a small pot, right? We're talking like a 1 gallon, not maybe a Soul Cup too, but like a 1 gallon, not like a 3 to 10 or 5 to 10 or 25 or something like that, but like a 1 gallon to whatever else. That thing's fully rooted, right? And feeding it, it's drinking every day. I go to transplant it. I put it in the, you know, maybe from a 1 gallon to let's call it a 5 or 10 gallon pot. That's usually the process over here. And that's, you know, we're talking 5 to 10 times the amount of space, right? So that's a lot of water retention, a lot of water that's not otherwise getting consumed because the roots aren't there yet and they're not drinking that water. And it's also less, you know, it's not necessarily evaporating, but like he's saying, maybe some of it from the top is. But otherwise, that's a lot of water retention. The problem is, if the roots don't go out and get that water, it's not drinking the water, right? So that water may sit in that substrate in that pot and actually do nothing. It might just stay soaked. Whereas the plant itself, I've seen this before, will start wilting and dying because it thinks it doesn't have any water access when really it's just that original 1 gallon root ball that is so fully rooted that it's drank all that water there. And now it's got to expend energy, which takes water, to go find the, you know, the new water and the expand its roots. So that's why I like to do it about a week before, but that's only happened a couple times. What's up, Tara?
I'd be curious why there wouldn't be wicking going on.
I think they do, but I think it's again one of those situations where if you go more than a couple days, it becomes a problem.
Yeah, because even that's a good question with the wicking. But if you have a bad, well, it's not wicking or whatever, that why it's bad is the water goes anaerobic. The dissolved oxygen bubbles out of that water.
I can see that happening. That was part of the
grow into it because now it's if it's an anaerobic pocket, the root's not going to want to grow into that. It's going to be like, no, fuck that. And it's going to stay wet.
Like every bit of the conversation that we have all has to do with like the media that we're in.
Exactly.
Right? Because I can do this with cocoa.
Yeah.
And the environment you're in.
Cocoa holds a lot more oxygen than peat. You know what I mean? If you have a peat-based, if you have soil and you have compost, and now we're saying let's oversaturate our soil, and you have life that we're drowning out, and we're causing to go anaerobic. Like, yeah. So that's actually a good point to make when Tara asked me a question this morning. Welcome, Tara.
What's up, Tara?
Hey guys.
What's going on? You want to get into it now?
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, so she had a question. She was just overall curious. Like generally, she sent me some photos of some plants in her garden. GMO specifically, it was a clone that she got from us. So so she was asking me, based on my experience with the GMO, if it looked right. You know, generally her garden looks good. You know, I mean, I didn't see anything really look wrong with it. I looked there were some differences in what I grow, but there's also some differences in, you know, she grows with LEDs. I'm still growing with HPS. There's some other environmental differences, but her main question was that there was some clawing going on, and while the plants weren't doing very significant clawing, you know, there was a little hook to them or something like that. But
so you say clawing, just for everybody listening, the tips of the fanleaves are pointing down,
and they could even still be praying, but they would have a curl to them. You know what I mean? So it's not a wilting. They could still be rigid and nice and full, but they're hooking, right? And these ones I wouldn't even say have a hard hook to them. They look fine.
What about the color of the leaf? Was the color of the leaf
dark
green and healthy, dark green?
They were more on a purple side, but again with the LEDs, it just looked like more like the plants responding to it's
What
GMO. So it does that like fuchsia, pink, purpling.
What day of flower? I assume it's a flower.
We're 44 today.
Okay.
What are you feeding them?
Jacks.
Media?
My first thought when
I always use soil, and we've always used Jacks, so nothing's different there for what I normally do. The only difference is it's GMO that I'm running this time, and not the other
using
stuff.
CalMag.
Nope.
Because my initial thought when I hear Klein is nutrient, and that's usually too much nitrogen.
So it's a 1 gallon pot.
That was my other thing. Is we decided to try 1 gallons, just to see how we could do with it.
I remember when you told us that, and we were all like, "You guys like water in place of egg?"
Let me get through the whole diagnostics first. We got to talk about everything that's going on, because that was exactly what I did. Was I started just going and saying, well, it's this. I was saying it's overwatering. You're too much water. But then later in the conversation, it was, well, it's in a 1 gallon pot and it's soil and it's being fed jacks. So you have something with minerals and you have something with life and biology already in it, soil, compost, and stuff that already is essentially hot with minerals. And then you're feeding it a hot mineral salt, right? So you are overfeeding it in a sense, but it's also in a 1 gallon pot that is far more potential to dry out and become highly hydrophobic to the point to where you're going to get more lockouts anyways. So like the conversation went into this, just this, discussion of all of the different variables that are within the different substrates and whether or not, you're in hydro or a soil, in basically a soilless or a soil media. You know what I mean? Like, we could talk information all day long, but whether or not you have compost in your media or whether or not you're feeding a salt-based nutrient, you know what I mean? And or whether or not that salt-based nutrient is being fed into a substrate that's either, inert or has life, or is that inert substance just peat? Or is it cocoa? Because we're talking about different water retention values and we're talking about different oxygen retention values in all of that stuff. You know what I mean? So all of that stuff plays into nutrient.
What media is she in? What media are you in, Tara?
Fox Farm.
Ocean Forest?
No, just Happy Frog.
Happy Frog.
Happy Frog?
That's not getting you through flour at all. It's not even getting you halfway through flour.
No.
So don't assume that in a 1 gallon pot there's even much active life left. I mean, you definitely have to feed jacks. I assume that much.
What's the life? I'm sorry, I didn't catch what stage of flower you're in.
44 days.
Day 44.
And we're talking about a strain that you're harvesting on day like 71. So
yeah.
So just over halfway.
Yep.
And you just got over stretch.
Yep. And they did really, really nice. I'm really happy with that. I was afraid that it was going to get out of hand, and so they're very nice. They look good.
Are the tips of the leaves burnt at all?
No.
No, they look good.
Are they
I didn't really think there was much wrong with them.
Are they dark green? Oh, they froze.
Frozen.
They're like fuchsia. They're like in that dark green purple phase.
Sorry, stupid.
Oh, she's back.
Do you guys have a light meter or at least a photon app or something to know what the PPF is of the light that it's getting?
I have a generic thing on my phone, but I don't know how accurate that is.
Yeah, I don't.
So what is
Better than nothing.
What's it tell you?
I haven't did it in a while.
What's this light that you have above it, and how far away is it from the bud? The bud.
HLG 650.
Okay, how far away is it from the?
That
And
was
what
the thing.
percentage?
I
Just moved it up.
I did move it up. I felt like it was too close.
It was
So it's sounding like light intensity to me right now.
Yeah.
And
I honestly thought when I first saw them, I thought it was too cold. Honestly, I thought that's what was causing the trouble because they're in the basement. So I thought initially that was, the issue because, he said the feed was fine.
What temperatures are you getting down to?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
What are the temperatures getting down to?
I don't know.
Probably, I guess 65. I'm gonna guess.
65 is cold, but it's not super cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might inhibit a little bit of nutrient uptake, but that wouldn't give you a nitrogen. It's like expressing as a nitrogen toxicity to me, but I also think that if it's not that, like if we can rule that out, you haven't changed the way it's feeding, and or maybe you're feeding a bunch of other plants in the same stage and they're just completely fine, and this is the only plant doing that. If that's the case, we can kind of rule out the feeding. The other thing, my next guess would be that the intensity is so much that it's throwing the metabolism off. Like it's like when you throw the switch on one thing, you push it up higher. You got to bring everything else up higher to compensate for that. So like when you throw higher intensity at it, you got to bring more CO2. You got to bring a little bit more feed. You know what I mean? And you can.
Is that 650 running at 100%?
We just turned it up last week. It is now
to 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, those are very intense lights.
How long ago?
That, and then I just raised the lights. I thought that they were too close, so I moved all that. And
how long ago did
he was gone for a day, 2 days also. So, and we had somebody here watering. So, you know, this didn't just happen overnight. Obviously, this has been happening. It's been like creeping for a couple weeks now. I've noticed them starting to turn color, but I have noticed a couple, like the Cherry Paloma is starting to, you know, fade out a little bit underneath. But I don't know. I'm not here, so I don't know how the drybacks are going or anything. You know what I mean? I'm not sure about that part.
But under that light, you have multiple plants, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How are the other plants under that light looking? Are they
Actually,
struggling?
one GMO that's really good looking, and it's like the mother plant that I had, the original. It's like,
Is it shorter?
Is it directly under? And is it directly under it or off to the side?
it's
I would say they're all pretty much under direct light.
directly under
They're
it.
all pretty well
Are
situated.
they all the same height?
And,
yeah, they're all similar height.
yeah.
And so the other GMO looks good, but what about the other two? Did you say you got two more plants too?
Yeah, they look
There's
okay.
Motor Breath. Motor Breath looks fantastic.
Yeah, they look good.
I just took
Any of them have like purpling in the stems, the main stalks, not the leaf stems, but the main stalks. Are they purpling or red stripes at all?
No.
Neither one. They're just totally green.
Yeah.
And they don't have the pointy things on their leaves. They don't have the leaves pointing down. I mean.
I don't think so. No.
All right, so I think it's got to be a nutrient thing. Like somehow are they fed? They're all fed the same thing though, right? They're not fed.
Yeah, they're all fed the same.
Damn, that's frustrating. I don't know what the fuck's going on, man.
Yeah.
I really think it's the light. That's what I would think.
Yeah, it could be. That's why I really,
It is about that time when we cranked it up where, I don't know, maybe it could be.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely could be. The light, I've tweaked a couple things like the light. I did, took it, we tweaked that and put it directly, turned it up a little bit because I definitely did not feel like the bud structures for what day they were last week should be where they were. So that's why we need to turn this up. And
do you guys add CO2 in there, or do you have like a fan that like an exhaust fan that cycles air through?
yeah, we've got an exhaust fan.
All right, cool.
See. My thought was over once you said soil, my head immediately went to like a peat-based product, and when feeding with jacks, you're constantly fertigating. And I can assure
that these are not
overwatering.
watered with this guy right here.
And my thought was it being holding too much water because it's being hydro fed, so you're constantly feeding hydro. But if it's a soil base, it's generally a peat based, and you're not going to get as much oxygen retention.
I agree with you, but I would think you wouldn't get the curling down. You'd get a general leaf droop if it was overwatering. I think the expression of that curl is really well. I don't even want to say this and put it out there, but the other thing that causes that is a mite.
But the nitrogen in my eyes would also present a color disformation that wouldn't be the purple.
Well, that's the next step. Like say for example, the EC meter is off for some reason. It's coded in shit and it's reading the wrong EC, so you're really overfeeding not knowingly. All right, we're just making up an imaginary thing.
The runoff EC is slightly I mean, slightly normal, but I mean, it's kind of on the high end of normal. I mean, it's like 2.25. I only run mine like 1.4 on my in. My out's probably in the 1.8 range, in the close to 2 range.
Well, that's the thing though. That's a good thing to look at is the runoff. What is the runoff looking like as compared to what you're putting in? If you're getting a higher EC coming off, that means it's like, you might be running a little hot. You might want to bring that EC down a little bit. It might be a little nitrogen toxic. It might be a GMO. It might be sensitive. I don't know. I don't remember GMO being super sensitive to nitrogen, but for some reason it's pissed off. It's definitely
here's let me just input something here about soil. And I don't, I try to grow organically, and I don't add like salts to my soil, but
yeah, but you could totally. I mean, I'm not gonna say a million, but a ton of people that have grown in soil, like ProMix and fucking salts was the fucking jam for so long. It's like totally can be done. So we can't say that.
ProMix. I don't know what I don't know what this Fox Farm is, but ProMix is
Frog is super popular. Lots of people use that.
ProMix is cocoa and peat though, so I mean you're still
getting some of it is, but there's 100% peat ProMix too.
That'd be difficult run. I mean, I wouldn't have great success running 100% peat. I don't think. I feel like I would have you'd have to use a lot of perlite. You have to get your mixture right. You got to get your mixture right. Exactly. You got to use sand and perlite and shit like that, right? Yeah. So I mean, you can do it. You just got to use other shit. So that's ultimately like why I think it can really narrow down to substrate, and then if you're using soil.
But what would you do in her situation? Like her specific situation, you walk in, you see that. What are you going to do? You see that on your plant, knowing what they just told us with her GMO plant, and you're like, okay, I can kind of rule out.
Well, like I said, there's just so many variables. You got to start testing shit. Like you got to be like in the room. And
so, what's the first thing you're doing then? Okay, with the information we just learned, what's your next step?
I'm picking up the pot.
See how heavy it is.
Because if it weighs 50 fucking pounds, you know what I mean? I know it's overwatered. You know what I mean? Like it's not retaining oxygen. It's oversaturated. Like that cocoa is just, or peat or whatever is just water.
And then I'm not going to water that plant. And I'm going to count how many days it takes before it gets fucking dry. Does it take just a day to get dry? Then I'm not too worried. If it doesn't take 2-3 days to get dry, now I'm fucking worried. What the fuck is going on? Why is this plant? I'm worried about rotten roots at that point.
Yeah. You're slowing down transpiration. A lot of stuff's going on. And the only reason that I went that route is just in the assumption of it being soil, that it being peat based. You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't ask what kind. I didn't know. I didn't look it up. Nothing. I just started checking variables. Generally, and that's to go for, if you do something synganic, synganic's possible. I mean, you can do soil in hydro. You just have to really be good at the balancing act. That is,
or you can just go soil with straight water and then mix foliars with salts.
So far up until this point, I haven't had any issues with the soil.
You generally shouldn't.
So if you walked in, been running like 3 gallon pots, you picked up that pot, would it be heavy right now, or would it be dry?
Be light, it'd be dry.
And that'd be the other thing is if it's dry.
If you water it, does it get dry within a day, just like all the other plants?
I could water it more. I'm probably going to try watering it more. Actually, I might get up in the middle of the night and water it once more.
Okay, so that's actually important.
I know.
If it's over dry, that could actually, if it's having a big dryback, that could actually cause nitrogen.
Guys, they're 1 gallon pots. You know how hard this is to do?
Well, I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm just trying to say. I think that's what it is now. I think that's.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's so challenging doing any type of flowering in 1 gallon.
The only thing that we've done differently with this run is the 1 gallon. And that's the only difference. The same feed, the same soil, and its GMO is the only differences here.
Well, see, when you feed salts and it gets too dry, what happens is the plant is actually taken. So just I'm gonna imagine how my brain thinks about it. And then maybe I'll help you guys understand. But Like, so you take, you know how when you mix up the feed water, right? You get water and you're adding the fucking nutrients, right? Which is the minerals. So you have water and nutrients mixed together. You put it into your media. Well, if it's drinking too fast and it gets dry, what happens is it pulls the water, but it leaves the fucking minerals behind. It doesn't pull up all those minerals. Those minerals are what they call salt buildup. Well, when you get that salt buildup and then you go to water again, that salt dissolves into that water you put into there. So then when it pulls up that water now it gets extra salts and it's burning the fuck out of it. So if it gets too dry, that shit happens.
I think that
water, if you get it like 2 waterings or 3 waterings in a day, it never dries out to be able to get that salt buildup in there. If you get any salt buildup, it just pushes out the bottom of the pot because you've watered it a couple times.
Yeah, you could see it on the holes of the pot if you guys salt buildup at the bottom.
And if it dries out too much, not only that, you're going to be hydrophobic, and it's not even going to go in, and it's not even going to push out the old salts because it's just going to go out and around the pot and around the plant anyway, around the whole
Lots of runoff.
soil, and you're just going to see runoff, and you're going to assume that it's the old shit coming out, but it's really the new shit going in, just going out and around, and the plant's not getting anything at all. And so now you're dealing with dry issues, and you think that you've watered your plant, and it might have worked a little bit. You might have got a little bit of moisture, and it might have kept your plant alive, but it's drying out way faster, and you're really wondering why it's not. So, I mean, the smaller the pot is more difficult. So it could be, I mean, you see operations doing it in really tiny pots, but they're generally automated. Or
they're shooting 7 to 12 times a day, literally feeding 7 to 12 times a day. Yeah,
you can grow wheat in a Dixie cup if you're standing over it feeding it every time.
That's a new fucking challenge for 2025. All right, who's got the highest fucking return on a Dixie cup? Jeez.
Well, that's a good news. That's a good news.
I'm gonna just float that thing.
That's not a bad thing. It's like you can still get through doing this. It's just you're gonna get it's not gonna be the best expression at the end. But the good news is you can still do a pheno hunt out of it if you're doing more than one pheno. And secondly, you know what to fix next time is just put it in a bigger pot.
Yeah, I mean, it was just for shits and giggles.
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
If you have to be gone all day, okay, you got to be gone all day, and you're not going to be there to water these things, and you're finding that they're drying out because they are in 1 gallon pots, and you are trying to get this to the next. You got 3-4 weeks left on a couple of these plants.
Well, that's the thing too. That's the mistake. Is the GMO is a long flowering plant, so keep it in a 1 gallon. This root ball is going to eventually get in there, and it's going to like feed me all the time. So
and so my suggestion would be if you have any saucers, something.
Fill it till run up and then fill the saucer.
Jug, or just chug.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that for many, many years. When, if not fully automated, you got to go out of town for a couple of days. Your plant's going to dry back. Just overfill the area that they're sitting. Hopefully, they're not sitting just on a floor. And if they are, you can just get a saucer and toss a saucer or a Tupperware bin or something underneath it and just fill it up with water. Fill it up with a little bit of Jack solution, half of what you normally use, and just let it sit in there and just let it bottom.
You could top feed and bottom feed. It's top feed them and then fill up after you've top fed them, not to the point of runoff. Just top feed them a little bit and a little less than you normally would if you're getting a little runoff, right? But then, like Balish is saying, butt chug responsibly. Put some water in the bottom there. Don't let them get anaerobic. Let them suck it up. It's gonna wick it. Doesn't matter whether it's
don't leave it for a week.
Something more, a little bit better wicking, like cocoa or something like that, as we all know.
What I was thinking in my head is like a day, like provided enough water that it consumes that water in a day, but not that so much that it's like so dry you can pick it up with one hand like easily. That's too dry.
Here's my thoughts on this whole thing. I think you guys really challenge yourself with the 1 gallon pots. I think you know that now. I think we are all saying it, but I think when you guys told us about that plan, but you live and you learn. That's the best way to learn, is to try it. So I don't, fault you at all for.
I think we all can agree though. It's not like an all is lost thing. I think it's going to be like instead of a 10, you're going to have a 9. That's not a big deal. But I mean, it just won't be perfect. That's all.
And so I think the 1 gallon pots are a challenge, right? But past that, that's not the problem here. I think it's a multifaceted problem. I don't think it's just overwatering or underwatering. I don't think it's just a pH lockout or a nitrogen toxicity. I don't think it's
underwater.
The strain or anything like that. I think it's multifaceted. I think based on you saying it's typically light nut tree, I think that it's certainly an underwatering. I think those plants probably need to be fed twice as often as they are. If that means putting saucers at the bottom and feeding them the same amount of times, because that's the time you have, because listen, we're fucking growers, and most of us aren't doing this as a full-time job for our plants at home, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you got to get it in when you can get it in. So throw some saucers under there, feed them the same amount of times, but just feed them at the top and then feed them at the bottom as well. But I think it's, like I said, multifaceted. I don't think it's just an underwatering issue. I do think it has to do something with the nutrients and probably some lockout. And here's the thing: what happens when you have soil-based nutrients, if you will, and drybacks. If you dry back too much, you will kill a lot of that life in that soil, and that becomes unavailable to you in the future. And even if you water it again, you bring it back to life, so to speak, that rhizosphere, you're still going to be missing out on what you needed at that point. I've experienced this myself. I've been growing for soil under LEDs for years now, and I'm growing in up to 25-gallon pots now because of this. I've experienced it many times where I've dried back a plant a little bit too much, or it just didn't have the nutrients in there, which I don't think is the issue here, because you guys are feeding it something. I'm literally just watering my plants with a reverse osmosis water. So if you guys are actually feeding it nutrients, I think it's a combination of the underwatering, a probably pH imbalance, and then the nutrients it's able to uptake because of that existing lockout.
And this is where context is so important when you're learning, when you're like watching podcasts or listening to people like us just talk about shit on the internet. Because if you're taking information and running with it, right? For example, crop steering and talking about drybacks and stuff like that, that information is generally a hydroponic philosophy. You shouldn't really be doing drybacks with soil. You should just keep soil. You also shouldn't be overwatering soil to runoff. You hear people talking about 10% runoff. You shouldn't be doing that with soil. You want field capacity with soil. All you want is moist soil. You don't want wet or dry. You just want it to be moist so that everything inside is working. You want everything to stay alive in soil, living soil, a completely different topic and concept than hydroponics. There's a fine medium where you can do both, and you can fertigate living soil with salt-based fertilizers. But an over-application will kill the life. An over-application of a dryback will kill the life. Hydrophobic, you're going to turn it into concrete. You know what I mean? Overwatering, you're going to turn it anaerobic, too much bacteria, the wrong kind of bacteria. Now, you might be good for certain things and accumulating certain types of growth, might be good for certain plants. But again, Fusarium, not good for certain plant, not good for most plants. You know what I mean? Septora, all of these other things that can come through root-based pathogens when you're dealing with soil and overwatering and all of that other kind of stuff. Hydroponics, far more sterile, far more forgiving to deal with, far more rudimentary in the plant-based nutrients ready and available to go into the plant. Now, this doesn't mean injecting the plant, right? We're not force feeding the plant the minerals. Again, the plant is only feeding what its ability to take up. That's why PGRs exist and stuff like that, because it boosts the plant's ability to take more in. It increases photosynthesis and photosynthetic rate. That's why in more intense lighting and CO2, then you can have a higher EC. If you don't have a lot of light intensity, if you don't have CO2, if you're not running plant boosters and all this shit, you don't need a high EC, because the plant's not going to take it in. You're just going to oversaturate your soil with salts. You're going to burn out your plant. You're going to cause a lockout in some form. going to be nitrogen, and then it's going to be potassium right after that, you know, and that's going to be your flower making minerals. So there's a fine medium in between, but when you're taking information in, always recognize the context in which the information is coming to you, and always know that when you are dealing with soil, you're probably dealing with a completely different, not just biology, but you're dealing with a completely different substrate altogether than you would be with hydroponics. And a lot of even like commercial applications today, they're using rock wool, or they're using Grodan. They're using those little beads,
steel wool,
bead things, pumice rock, and other shit like that, right? There's crossover applications. There's all of that stuff. But to go from one side and say, oh, I have to have runoff because they say that they're doing runoff and you're running soil, know that you're running soil and know that you don't need run. You know what I mean? Just understand, like, the information is different on both of the spectrums of growing. And then when you get into pH, those are completely different ranges. And do you need a pH? Not necessarily with soil, because if you're running at field capacity and you're not causing bacteria issues, you're not really dealing with pH, so life balances it for you. With hydroponics, yes, because if you want the minerals to go into the plant, you need different pHs. I vary my pH throughout the plant cycle to take in different minerals. That's how hydroponics works. That's not so much how it works with. So why do you want both, though, is the question. You're getting all the minerals that you want with hydroponics. You can feed the plant. The difference is with compost and other minerals that might be in compost, every mineral, nitrogen, for example, potassium's a better example, have different isotopes. I don't know how many different isotopes that potassium has, but it has like at least 3 different isotopes. You're not just getting potassium, isopotassium, whatever salt that you get in Jack's formula that I use, but in your in your worm castings, you could have, I don't know what it maxes out at, but maybe 5 different isotopes of potassium that all could cause different reactions in your plant. That's the cool thing about living soil. That is the cool thing about the life and the difference in soil and hydroponics. Is hydroponics give the building structures to make a plant, but soil gives all the shit that we don't know exists and puts it in the plant. You know what I mean? So the science is still working on soil. It's pretty much there on hydroponics. So I like the hybrid.
I'm not disagreeing with Fagroli. I'm not disagreeing with you either, Red, but I would argue that it doesn't apply in this case, because what we're dealing with in tares and nut tree specific cases, they use foxfire. Yeah, that's a soil, but I don't think anybody's going to argue that you're not going to get much more than about veg.
Veg. I was going to say veg, yeah.
Out of that soil. At that point, it becomes an inert media. You're just growing that because you've consumed all of the nutrients from that at that point. So, and at that point, you're feeding, which is the right thing to do. And
hold on, Mr. Reuse your soil. What the fuck are you even talking about? You're the one that convinced me to reuse my soil over here. You tell me I need to buy new fox farm every time I grow?
I don't remember saying that at all, but
what? Are you shitting me? No, hold on. No, fuck off. You are the whole reason I am reusing my soil right now. So if you're telling me that's the wrong thing to do, well, we're gonna have some words after the show.
Are you done?
No,
I'm not saying I didn't say. I'm not saying
not
to reuse your soil, so you can chill out, Karen. Okay. What I'm saying is, at this point, they have a soil that has nothing in it. Even if you're reusing your soil, you have to add something to it to get the soil back so your plant has something to use, right? They're choosing to use, what'd you say, Jax? They're choosing to use Jax. So they have to feed their soil because they've consumed all of those nutrients already. So they're choosing to use Jax to do that. They're in a 1-gallon pot, and I think it's completely their problem was because of the size of the pot, it's underwatered, and I think it's getting too dry because of the salt-based nutrients. You're feeding in a hydroponic situation at this point, so you should be feeding it hydroponically with those hydroponic nutrients. So I think you should be watering a little bit to run off to see, what the difference is between the two. And I think you should be watering it a little bit more often, which is not feasible for you to do than to try to figure out, like, I thought that was a great idea, but Red brought up with the filling up underneath, right? And giving it a little bit more water so that it could suck it up. And to mention, to adjust the EC, like he said, to cut that EC in half in that water and below too, because it's a really good point, because if you don't do that, you could really get really high EC quickly. Terry, you guys are muted right now. What were you saying?
No, I was just agreeing. I was yakking to him. I agree. No, I wasn't.
So I think really the only problem is because, I mean, it's underwatering, but it's only underwatering because it was a smaller pot. If you had it in like a 3-gallon pot, they'd have enough water held in there until the next day when you could get to them again.
But that has caused other issues now, right? Because it's what you're seeing, and thank you.
Yeah, it's overwater is drinking more of the water, leaving salts behind. So when you do water again, it's getting a shock at the first beginning, that first watering, because all of those salts dissolve into the water and it sucks that up.
Nuttree sent me the photos, and I think it's definitely an underwatering thing, but I think it's also it's less the clawing. It shows that there's a nutrient lack there. Like you can see it in the leaves themselves. And I think that's just because it all goes back to the underwatering thing. You know what I mean? I think that it's a compounding issue there.
The salts sitting in the media are going to make the media pH way off. And so it's going to make different
uptakes.
Minerals uptake way easier, and other minerals uptake way harder to uptake. So, yeah, that balance is going to be off. But that's as simple as just doing a quick flush, man. Just keeping them moist for a few days and see where it goes. Like don't keep them heavy, but don't let them dry back at all. Like if you're doing 2 feedings a day and you're not going to do the butt chugging thing, do 4 feedings a day for 3 days and see where it goes from there. But you guys have plenty of time. Like Russ said, this is certainly not a full loss or anything like that. The plants look great, honestly. Like it's just,
I didn't think
you guys are being meticulous about it, and that's okay.
What I said. The plants
There's a whole other tent that's doing great too. The 5x5 tent with the GG4, those are doing fantastic. So I do want to water them more. Also, while I'm watering them, I'm going to water those also, I think. So.
Like seriously, before you water them though, if you do think that they're dry, give them a sauce. Give them, like, we do this with our house plants all the time because they get super dry because we don't dry them. And you water them, and the water just comes right out the bottom, and it looks like seriously, put them in some water on the bottom for 10 minutes, not a day, just 10 minutes, and let it
like
percolate and wick up in there, and or else you're never going to get the plant watered, dude. And that's the problem. Once it's hydrophobic, it is impossible to get it. You got to water it a little bit, and you're hoping that it's getting in there. And, dude, it's more than likely it's going around. You think it's going in because it's going in. It's going in that top millimeter, that top, like, whatever you can see.
Doing a right angle to the outside.
That water, it goes right out the fucking sides, dude. And it looks like it's going in, and it's never getting watered. You can pick it up, and you're like, what the fuck? And then the plant eats it up super fast, what you did give it. It takes a little bit. It's getting a little bit. I'm not saying it's not getting any of it. It's getting a little bit of it. Or the plant.
That's a really good point, though. If you are underwatering, that's going to get to the point where you're going to get dry pockets in there that get hydrophobic. And
that's kind of where the bottom watering will help with, at least. You're going to clear up those dry pockets. You're going to help. And then that will ensure that the next time that you do water it from the top, it'll go into there. Because once it's like a sponge, it's a lot more easy for it to take water in.
Another cool thing you can do is next time you do water it is you could use something like our good buddy Abolished in chat there likes to promote. He turned me on to the soap nuts for saponin, or you can use yucca extract is another common saponin. Makes your water wetter. It'll spread it better so it can like penetrate those dry spots, get in there and moisten all that shit up.
What did the one soap nut say to the other soap nut?
What'd they say, Red?
What's happening?
Hey, y'all, I'm gonna get up out of here for the night. Thanks for having me up on the panel and shit.
Chuck,
of course.
Saturday, dude.
Good having you, man. It's good to see you, dude.
Yeah. We'll see you Saturday.
Yeah, plug it up, man. Where can we find you? Instagram, anywhere else?
And just Instagram mainly, Chuck D's Nugs, same place I always am. trying to get up there, be a little bit more active, but I've been slacking.
Yeah, it's all right. You're growing some fire. You just got to show it off every once in a while.
Yeah, I try to.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for joining.
Yep, thanks for having me on, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Saturday.
You
Cheers.
too.
Have a good night, man.
Oh, what did we just dab? I just took another dab. I was listening.
Devin,
I
Chocolope, I think.
what was it? Chuckle? You said?
Chocolope, I think.
Oh, Chocolope. How is that one, man? I never got to try it.
Good high. This is how much I got brought over today. That can that I showed you. I was like, I will scrape that, man. I don't know. I don't care for the flavor, but
Scrape all day.
It wasn't one of my favorites that you guys got processed. We just got the rainbow belts and super boof and then the sour D from him last night.
how do you like that sour D?
It's okay. I mean, I really like I don't like super boof, and I really don't think that the rainbow belts covers up that super boof, but it's got a great high.
Rainbow Belts is good.
And that one is
Chocolope has
my
a great
favorite.
high though. The Chocolope has a great high, but it's just I think that I would say the flavor is terrible.
It was just meh. It was just meh.
Yeah, terrible.
But this is what I was friggin' my socks were knocked off with that Blutonia.
Yeah, the Tina.
Whew.
We're calling that one Tina.
Holy shit balls. Wow. That's got some stank on it.
We only had 2 plants of that, so we don't have much of it.
Well, he was super nice to give us a little some. He had just trimmed up last
Just
night.
trimmed it,
and
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I let one of the girls at work smell it, and she's like, "Ooh, that burned my nose hairs." I was like, "Yeah, no, that's good."
It's like blueberry gas.
It's delicious.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah, we're excited for that one. We're excited for the Donnie that we got from seed, the one female.
The one
It grew
female.
crazy. It grew like it was top 30 times. It just had all these like Medusa branches all coming out and up. And so we got so much off of just one plant that we'll be able to run and get some of that in concentrate. So we're gonna have some
that's
Donnie Burger
awesome.
concentrate, and we still have some flour. Not a lot, but we have a little bit of flour of it. It's like a sweeter Donnie,
Okay.
a little bit of sweet Donnie. That's what Bake's calling it, the sweet Donnie. But he's already hunted another pack of those down. I think he said. So we might have another pack of Donnie Burger to hunt.
That'd be nice. It's
The
definitely really great.
we divided I was over there the other day, and we divided up everything how we're going to get it ran into concentrate. So we have the all the Dirty Taxi, of course, is getting run together. Donnie Burger by itself. Those Tinas, I think we have enough. I forgot to ask him if we had enough of those. If we have enough of both those together, because we want to have it. You have to have. I think it's 2,000 grams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we have enough of that or not.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't know what that's going to be ran with. But then the
You got 1,500?
then everything. Good question. Good to remember. And then everything else was the Rainbow Monk.
Yeah, I'm excited to try that.
And we sat there and smelled every pheno, and we divided it into 2 groups.
Okay.
We had the funk group or foul, funk/foul group, and we had like the sweet fruity group. And so when we process them, all the funk's going to be together, and all the sweet stuff's together.
Nice.
That's what we're going to have.
That's going to be a nice run.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. That'll be really nice.
Yeah.
I'm getting first dibs.
And then I'm excited for the run we have coming behind that. It's the Hash Church crosses, and that one just looks like it's like like it's going to be a good yield. Like it's supposed to be some incredibly frosty stuff.
What's the ETA and the harvest date for those?
Shoot, I don't know. Probably like 9 weeks after we throw them in there.
Oh, so okay.
And we're not
So
in
it's
there
like, okay, gotcha.
so it won't be in time for that.
Yeah, I know. I was fucking hoping, man.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice.
You better
Yeah,
save me one run to fucking put on the table. Damn it.
Because we got Hash Sunday, which is Sunday driver to Hash Church, and then the other one I can't remember what the fuck it was. It was Hash Church to something else badass. But I'm excited for it. I'm just really excited for it. It looks fucking fire. I'm excited to get modern strains in there again because we've been growing all these old strains, and it's these old leafy fucking bastard ass things
I
to
was
deal
gonna say,
with.
what determines an old strain?
But to
Is it
me,
something-
it's like something I used to see outdoors. It's like super leafy, has maybe a little bit more sativa leaning, a little bit more. Usually, fucking way better terps, but it's just ugly. So it's an ugly duckling, right? But it's a lot of work because you have a lot more leaf to calyx ratio.
hate those.
Me too. So it's like you keep it around and fuck around with it because it's so tasty for like long enough. You just get so tired of doing all the extra work with it.
Yep.
And you find something else that piques your interest and you get rid of that shit. And that's
last strain I cut. That was it.
Yeah.
Literally it. It's supposed to compete with garlic punch, but I spend about 12 times the amount on you than I do garlic punch. And terps aren't better. So pay.
Exactly, man. So but that's cool. That's cool that you make to think that you can cut if you think back like the first year of your growing when you're deciding, am I going to keep the strain or not keep the strain? To think that
first year of growing, I was not making those decisions. I was just trying to get into flower, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's like now you're making a cut of strains like, oh, this is kind of a pain in the ass to me because it's leafy. I'm getting rid of that motherfucker. Before you'd be like, God damn, this is fucking amazing. I'm going to keep this forever until the day I die, you know? But now we're to the level we've had the blessings of growing enough strains that like, no, we got this strain and this strain and this strain. Why am I fucking around with this? It's not perfect. I'm going to grow something that fits my space or whatever.
Yeah, and it's a skill set, right? Because there's providing those cuts to, like, for example, a commercial grow, right? That doesn't have the maybe time, space, manpower, willpower, or even interest in doing a pheno hunt. They just are looking for access to top tier cuts, right? And it takes a lot to build a library. Whether that's time, patience, growing ability, and a lot of resources dumped into it, or just a lot of resources dumped into it, and maybe going out and finding them, by buying cuts from other people and kind of, creating your own library. But I like to do it from seed. I like to actually pheno hunt. There's a lot of like joy in that, and I feel like almost less real world challenges because I can't imagine trying to like intake hundreds or thousands of genetics every year and just try to keep the house clean. You know what I mean? Like the amount of testing that has to go on, and I don't even know what.
I know it's a lot of the commercial side, a lot of the the onboarding that happened when you first got your license. You had like this window of opportunity. The first X amount of time you can bring in your seed catalog.
Caregiver shit. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even going to name names because it doesn't matter. But I mean, I knew owners that went to conventions and went to High Times Cups and, all these places that had vendors that had some seeds, and they not cleaned out as far as taking multiple seeds, but bought a pack of everything that each seed vendor had. And they have these gigantic seed collections for that onboarding time, because then now they can just sit there and hunt it at their leisure, we'll say. So you can set up a little space at your commercial grow, but is because you've had those seeds, which technically stored well can last a good long time, longer than your business is going to last.
Oh, line of the night. Holy shit. Oh my God. I want to send that to so many people right now. Clip it. Fucking clip it.
Yeah, you can short that. That's a great one. But but yeah, so now you have all these seeds you can hunt to try to be, that's the craziest thing to me. It was totally opposite and an eye-opening thing for me on the commercial side of things. Is the demand is created by the customer. Makes sense. The customer goes in and asks for something at the dispo, and then the dispo is telling the grow basically, hey, this is what we're looking for. What you would expect to happen as a grower is that, okay, we're going to bring our best 5 strains, we'll say, best 4 strains, whatever the fuck it is, to our dispos, and we're going to get a name for ourselves, and people are going to want that fucking strain, and people are going to demand it, and we can just grow it again and again, build SOPs, rinse and repeat, and fucking have a fucking good life. But that's not what happens. Not what happens at all. What happens is a customer goes in and they want something different. They want, just because they tried that before and it was great. That's fine. But I want to try this other thing because it's a different name. So what you find is the dispos are asking and pressuring, we'll say, the commercial grows, they come up with a new strain. Doesn't matter if your other shit was good. We want something new. We want something. We don't want, I'm just throwing crazy numbers out there. We don't want 100 pounds of fucking whatever. GMO. We don't want 100 pounds of it. We want 25 pounds of GMO.
25 of lime skunk, 25 of rainbow sherb.
Yeah. Because we want to have a variety for the customer, because they want something new every time.
They do.
So then not only was that the kind of the pushback coming from the buyers, I guess, but then it got to be so much so that you've always got the cheaters and the shortcut makers. So then you've got people going to the extremes of, we're going to continue to grow the same shit, but we're just going to call it something else. So we'll enter it into the computer as another strain. We're going to tell the fucking, and we're going to tell the dispos it's a different strain, but it's really the same fucking strain. We slapped a different fucking name on it.
Oh, smells and tastes the same anyways.
So strain name, and adding the commercial side means fucking not shit at that point. So
yeah,
that's
Frosty Splash Purple hits at 31% THC.
And hey,
yeah. It's a ever compounding problem. So rewind back. You just pop your seeds that you brought in when you were at the beginning of the market, when you first brought in your license, and you call that strain whatever the fuck you want to call it, because now you have a whole library of seeds. So as long as you have a seed, you can pop it into metric as a new, as whatever strain name, and now you can legitimately say, I fucking popped this new strain. We hunted it commercially, and you find the one you like the best, and you name it whatever is popular at the time. Joe Smo, Heidi Ho, weed to go. And there you go. That's the strain for that week. Next week, you pop another one of your fucking strains that you bought out of the seed packs, and you rinse and repeat.
I had the idea of there's some businesses that will just try to really take over the market like that. That's I think their ultimate goals, by just we're gonna have such a high market share, we're just gonna call our strains by a color. So it's not it's just based on a color.
Red 42, right? Red 42,
blue 49, blue 29. Yeah, and I see there's ways to kind of trademark color coordination amongst branding and thing. I get that, but it's you're almost putting yourself in a box, right? And then but my thinking was the reason I started going down that road is well, how do you protect your brand, your strains, things like that? I see you shaking your head, Russ. It's just you can't.
You protect your brand. That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. You got to be your brand, and that's all you are. Because strains aren't like I said. Strains mean nothing. It's like trying to protect the air that you breathe.
But okay, so I think, am I one of the? I mean, clearly. We're not talking commercial level or anything like that. I think, were I to enter the market and just produce the same things, the same 7, 8, 9 strains or whatever for the next 10 years, I don't think that's going to go so well, right?
Right.
Is it only? Am I only an exception to the rule with Clementine, Lime Skunk, Garlic Punch, Cobra Milk at this point? These certain strains that I've just kind of kept going with, am I only an exception because it is such a small scale and there's such, and I'm going to use the word exclusivity to it?
In the level of craft, Don't sell
Right.
yourself short because you take extra steps that people doing the same thing you are doing don't do, which give you the test results that you get. So I think people can taste that in the end product. So yeah, I think that's forever going to cement you. And not only, I think, how should I say it? I think that elevates your quality when you can say, I've picked out these strains to highlight my art, and I'm going to go with this palette, and you're going to enjoy it. Try one. One of these is going to hit your palate. And instead of chasing the impossible, which is to please everybody, which you can't, and to always have something new, always something different.
Right.
It's impossible. You're never going to please that person because they're going to always want something different.
That is a caveat to, I'm sorry, Red, but that is a caveat to starting off as a caregiver. I think is like you really ultimately are growing for yourself. You're trying to use this medicine for your own ailments, right? So if it doesn't work for you, like, why are you going to keep growing it? Go ahead, Red. My apologies.
One thing I happened to, well, before I go on about the same conversation that we have, I want to pause real quick and keep everybody's attention. Are we able to do a giveaway? I don't know if I have the authorization. I don't know if I'm able to do some kind of a.
I have here. I second Red's authorization for a giveaway. I think that
I have no technical ability to do
Well,
that.
no,
but
that's what I
am
mean.
all
I don't
for
know
it.
how to do a giveaway. I don't know how to do the randomization.
Do old school, Red. You can do old school. You can just be like, I put a number in our chat that we see.
Yeah.
Chat. You'd be like, put a number between this number and this number. Go
1 through 500, and I don't know. I'm not going to finish that sentence because we're not just go in the private chat. But
1 through 20. How many people do we have watching?
Yeah, that's got to be the first
20,
person
dude.
to hit there, right?
Let's make this real easy.
Yeah, first
anyway,
person to guess the number 1.
Here, let's throw Indigo Rose up there. Indigo Rose is Granddaddy Purple times Blue Steel, and these are regular seeds. The female Granddaddy Purple,
Lucky number 13 regulars.
male Blue Steel, Indigo Rose, indigo being the combination of purple and blue, and rose being, well, my grandmother's name was Rose. So that's where the grandmother, I know I was talking about making it more of a woman granddaddy, grandmother, while the grandmother is my grandma Rose. And so Indigo Rose, a little homage to her.
Oh.
And of course, the offspring of what's to come is going to come down the ladder, and I have some actually clever names for those as well along the family tree, but I'll keep those ones private for the time being. It's actually kind of nice how it works out. But anyways, that Granddaddy Purple, it was a clone-only Granddaddy Purple that, it smells like grape and fuel, and has just mind manifesting capabilities. It's very funky, very nice. It's been in the garden for almost a decade. I've had that clone, and that clone was handed to me by somebody who, the clone was given to me by my best man, who got it from the keepers who wouldn't give it up. He ended up getting it because he was working for them and doing some work with them. The guys who really wouldn't give it up, he's no longer around. That's not why I got the clone or anything. But
damn, Red, what'd you do to him, dude?
It's sad, and it's one of the reasons that I keep the clone close. I mean, he was a friend of mine. He just wouldn't give away his genetics. You know what I mean? It was a friend of ours, and one of our homies did end up getting the genes just because he was working directly with him. Me just being a chain in the pipeline, I couldn't get the genetics at the time. But the clone, before it switched hands to his hands, was one of those $2,000 clones that they got, and we're talking 2010, 2012 era, whenever it came to Michigan.
God blessed.
He was in the line of the guys that got it into Michigan, and it's medicine is what it is. And what's wild about the Granddaddy Purple is you know, I've had patients over the years, a lot of different genetics just wouldn't suit their needs, and Granddaddy Purple just, even though it's not very potent, it's not 30%. You're not going to punch 30%.
That's so much times that's the case with medicine, is this like people aren't used to smoking a lot of the time, these people that need it as medicine, and they don't want something super heavy and fucking potent. They need something that's just a little bit of THC, but not fucking hit to the face.
Yeah, I've learned to love the strain. It slaps. So I don't smoke it that often. Like it has a tendency to like, what the fuck, you know? So it's something that I'll smoke like at nighttime. It's like during the day, I mean, it might put you down, but so the Blue Steel aspect of the cross to this is Blue Steel is OG blueberry, not like OG Kush blueberry, but
old school blueberry,
original gangsta blueberry, which comes off in the progeny. Like the females that I've grown out of it have that DJ Short blueberry fragrance to it, but it's a little more fruity and it's a little more of the old school blueberry.
They grow like that, short, stout, branchy.
Very like strong, but they kind of have like this sativa structure that's just nugged up like a spear. It's the spear style, you know what I mean? And it's just a full like 4 feet of just nug. And it's a heavy producer, very frosty. The other side, the DJ Short blueberry doesn't do that. But what is in the progeny of the OG blueberry is the cube. And the cube is Starfighter F2 and Starfighter or something like a Starfighter. It's like a Starfighter F2 or a Starfighter F3 is basically the cube. The cube, I think, is just a clone of the Starfighter F3. And the Starfighter is a worked,
like a work
Josh. It's basically like a worked Tahoe OG or Josh D OG or something like that. It's like Tahoe OG and like San Fernando OG. It's a worked OG line basically, because they're all the same OG anyways, just depending on where they're from. So the cube is worked OG Kush, essentially. Brings it potency, brings it terpenoline, brings it, heavy, gas flavor, narcotic tendency. So the idea behind this is medicine. Basically bringing the medicine of the OG Kush, the medicine of the Mendo Purple, those two together to bring you this. It's probably going to more or less be sedating, but with the euphoria of the blueberry, I'm really hoping that it adds a little bit of a kick, but I'm also hoping that with the Kush, it kind of adds a little more of a the Granddaddy Purple has its own bag appeal. It just doesn't, like, let's say it's not frosty enough to like be a hash worker or anything like that. And the Blue Steel is definitely a dumper. Like it is very loaded up. I might be able to find some Blue Steel flower and show you, but similarly the Granddaddy Purple. But
I think I have a way of doing this, Red, if you want to do the giveaway.
Do you? Yeah.
Red, I think you have to coordinate with your dad and have him change his YouTube name to Granddaddy Red, and then
is he in there? Have you seen him?
I haven't seen him yet.
And
then you get to change his to Daddy. You get to change yours from Red Cider to Daddy Red.
I need to change mine to Daddy Red. Becca
must just co-opt his account.
Becca must not have got the baby to sleep. She must be.
All right, so I have picked out a number, and this is not just any random number, but it's the number that you have to enter in this chat here to be the winner of this Indigo Rose pack.
Where's this number? I don't see this number. You trying to be a cheater?
Nope. I will put it in the private chat. Well, no, I don't even have to do it because I'm going to explain it to you.
Oh, he doesn't even have to do it, folks.
No, you'll see why. You'll see why.
Okay.
This number is a number that I pulled from Red himself, but also from Rosemary's Oasis. The first person to tell, hold on, the first person to tell us in chat, this 3-digit number
3-digit
will win
number.
this pack. It is the number of posts on the Red Setter Farm account on Instagram and the number of subscribers on the Rosemary's Oasis YouTube account. It is the same number.
Wow.
The number of posts on the Red Setter Farm Instagram account and the number of subscribers on the Rosemary's Oasis YouTube account. The first person to post that number will get this pack.
I like that. That's a good one for Girly. There you go. Please subscribe to those accounts. I'm not mandating anybody subscribe for this one. So the seeds come in a little vial like this, guys. That's what's inside of this. So they're not loose seeds just floating around. I put them in here, and then I tap it off. W. Is that the win right there? Is it 331?
That's the winner. That was
all
quick.
right, dude.
That was awesome.
Okay, so
get in touch. You two get in touch.
Yeah,
you take it from here.
Instagram or email redsetterfarm@gmail.com or Instagram. I'm just gonna ask for a shipping address. And yeah, so send those things to me, and I'll shoot these pack of seeds out to you. And I probably have some more seeds laying around here. I mean, I've got a few of some good here. So
I saw Rainbow Driver. That
was Rainbow Driver. Rainbow Driver. That was like Green Room. I got a lot of those that are going to end up being freebies with any donation for these Indigo Rose seeds. You'll get freebies of our high CBD line, which is a Green Room male. That's AC/DC. What is that? AC/DC, and its Best Coast genetic male from Green Room was it's like a AC/DC in Charlotte's Web or something like that. Otto. It's Otto. I'm sorry. Otto. It's like Otto and AC/DC. That's what it is.
So it's gonna be a 1-on-1 probably.
Looking for a 1-to-1. Yeah, I mean I've got Lemon Dozy Do, Strawberries and Cream, Hippie Crasher, Death Star, all kinds of stuff with that line. Got a lot of other stuff like the Death Star and Durban Margie and Golden Goat and a couple of these other things that are crossed with the Blue Steel male also this year, but those are going to end up getting worked into some other projects. So not a lot of seeds of those available. There is Dub Bub and Blue Steel seeds that are available, and I think I might even have some Death Star and Blue Steel, but I don't know if there's like enough. Those might end up being some one-off freebies or giveaways or something in the future, so stay tuned for those. We are accepting donations on our for our small farm, and so one way you can help donate is by getting a pack of these seeds. Hit us up on either Instagram or email or anything like that. We can send you guys some seeds, and we can send you guys some freebies and stuff for a $40 donation of those. And Kat, hit me up and send me your shipping information, and I will hook you up with a little package as well. So appreciate you guys. Hell yeah. And yeah, I'll try to do some of these a little bit more often. I've only got a bunch of seeds to give away. Assuming I can get them out to people for just a couple of bucks worth of shipping, it shouldn't be an issue. If shipping becomes an issue, I'll just might have to ask for like, a couple bucks. So
yeah, I think it's great, and you got a lot of thirsty and hungry people in chat looking for more. And the reason I did it that way is because those two numbers are the same, and I thought that was crazy just by looking at them. And I might like math too much, but also like you got to be here, active, listening, and ready to go. It's not just guessing a number
that way.
Go look up those profiles, go subscribe and shit. So congrats to you, Kat.
Yeah, there's like almost 100 people watching, so that's kind of cool. And maybe in the future I'll be like, hey, you gotta like subscribe to my thing or something. But yeah, I'm not gonna have you guys do that right now. But you know what? If you guys are sweet, just hop on over and subscribe to all of our Instagrams and YouTubes. And we also have Rosemary's Oasis as an Instagram and YouTube that we do our. Actually, if for whatever reason you guys get these seeds and they don't have our reds, this is kind of a little R&D label on here. You might actually get the Rosemary's Oasis logo on there, not a Red Setter Farm. So these seeds come from Rosemary's Oasis. And the difference being Red Setter Farm is our indoor, it's hydroponic, it's a caregiver cannabis.
Are you
and stuff.
rebranding to Red Setter Family Farm, or is that more your vegetable side? Because I love the Red Setter.
Well, the Rosemary's Oasis is like the Red Setter Family Farm for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So Rosemary's Oasis is like it's the permaculture, it's organic, it's yeah, so these seeds are organic. They all came out of our outdoor, no till, no dig, chicken compost garden.
Yeah.
Family farm. Yeah. So that is where, any donations for these seeds would be going towards, just logistic planning for that family farm, seed stock, hoops, covers, insect netting, and all that kind of stuff that we need to invest in. So, and eventually scale up. But for right now, we're just doing the thing here on our little plot that we have, and trying to get our other plot started. It's going to take a couple years to get that turned into what we're doing here. So
what's your next practice? What's your next project that you're going to tackle as far as that goes, setting up that spot?
Simply just covering the soil and getting a lot of
Start where you do a bed, maybe.
Yeah, so come to find out, all of the briar and brush and shit that's growing that really needs to be bush hogged down, come to find out the autumn olive, which it is a nitrogen fixing perennial. So come to find out that these trees that have been growing, these giant bushes that have been growing, and they're very fast growing. They were little knee-high scrubs. I was mowing this lawn 2 years ago. I let it grow in the last 2 years, and these things are 12, 15 feet high.
Holy
shit.
shit.
Barely walk through it, dude. It's crazy. 2 years. And so they're fast growing, and they're girthy wood. I'm gonna chop it all down. I use it for fencing. It's actually autumn olive is not only is it an edible berry that's sweet, you can make a fruit leather out of it. If you gather a whole bunch of them and mill it down into a mush, you can make this really cool dehydrated fruit leather. But anyway, just alone, but they're really seedy, so you kind of have to if you eat them, you just got to work out the seeds.
I just let them fucking fix nitrogen for a season to fucking chop the wood down,
dude, and
throw the wood in for fucking making beds, right?
I want to keep a few of them just so they're considered invasive. You're not supposed to have them, type of a thing. The woods actually can be used for, weaving. It's really good. It's similar to willow, so it has a pliability to it. We use a lot of fencing. We use a lot of material for fencing and things like that. So it'd be really good for making wattle fencing and things. So we want to salvage as much, dude. I mean, I have a half acre.
Clone easy? Could you clone it? Can you clone it easy?
I'm sure I could clone it with no problem.
How badass would it be to make a living fence out of it then?
It kind of is on the one side of our property. It kind of is I really have to keep it pruned back.
But what I mean is I'll try to find the pictures online, but where you plant
braid them.
Yeah, you plant them close together, and as they grow up and they're still pliable, you braid them together and then weave them over to the next.
They're pretty messy. They kind of grow like an apple tree. They're this, you know what I mean? This gangly apple tree.
Keep up and fucking prune them all the time.
You have to really prune them up. Yeah. You could. I'm sure you could. But anyway, so it's a berry performing fruit, but it's a nitrogen fixing tree as a perennial.
I thought it'd be cool because it's a nitrogen fixer. Keep it alive and just fucking
the
roots of that monster.
So in our planning, we want to have what's called hedgerows. And so hedgerows are places basically where you would keep a pollinator garden, perennial garden, places like that. If you have areas that are constantly being turned over, basically in a market garden, you're harvesting something all the time, and so you're going to have bare soil. You're going to have the need to sustain the life that you have in your garden, so you need areas that are always green. You need areas that are always flowering, and if you're constantly cultivating, it's difficult to do. You have to kind of sacrifice some of your space for. It's not really a sacrifice. It's part of the system. It's just part of the system. You just have to use part of your square footage. You can't just capitalize on all your square footage, even though you can capitalize on perennials and stuff like that, and you're able not just capitalize but like feed yourself, or you know what I mean. In this case, a market farm would be for profit. So but anyways, in the hedgerows, planning where those would go basically based specifically on the locations of these autumn olives that are already in the ground. So I'm going to have like basically an autumn olive as
at the base of the hedgerow. I love that.
At the base of the hedgerow as a shading companion, as something to like, if I need like, let's say lettuce or something that, I need shade, rather than having to use shade cloth for that specific area. While this 12-foot tall tree is going to make a great shade structure that I won't have to build anything or buy anything for. It's also going to fix nitrogen and put it into the soil for me for these.
A lot of the work's done. You just got to go maybe trim it up.
Yeah. And they grow really fast. I can prune them back in the season. Cut them down to nothing.
Nitrogen back in the ground, which is fucking awesome.
What's that?
And it's fixing nitrogen still.
Fixing nitrogen in the ground, right? Yeah. So similar. So think for those that are wondering what we're talking. Think of growing legumes, beans, peas, things like that. The reason that peas are used and clover and things like that is used as a cover crop is because it pulls nitrogen from the air, puts it into the soil. In the case of, I think, clover, I think it just puts it into its leaves and you have to maybe turn it into the soil. In the case of beans and legumes, they create little nodules in the roots. The roots must stay in the soil and it puts it in there through the roots. In the case of the autumn olive, it's doing it in the roots. The roots are fixing the soil. Taking nitrogen out of the air, putting it into the soil, giving you more nitrogen. Otherwise, you have to use compost and stuff like. There's not a lot of ways to get nitrogen into this. Green manure. You're going to get good nitrogen off green manure, but you need to cut it back and add it to your soil. So it's good to have fixers. And actually, in permaculture, in between your fruiting, main crops, you want to have something like a nitrogen fixer in between. There's leguminous trees. I think there's a tree called mimosa, I believe, and it's different than Mimosa hostilis, I believe. It's not the DMT mimosa.
It's an edible plant, right, where you can eat the leaves?
Yes. It's mimosa leaf-eating mimosa, yes. And that tree is nitrogen fixing as well. I don't know if it's zoned properly for us, but I do know that it's worked in permaculture. So it's not something that I have experience with. It's just something I have experience hearing other people have experience with. But they use that so let's just say you have two apple trees in a row,
Yeah.
Put an autumn olive in between them. Put that in between it. Hey, you have two giant cannabis plants, grow a mimosa in between it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Have that mimosa be there all year if you're in the South. Have your autumn olive be there forever. And that autumn olive be there.
A little bit of companion planting, but larger scale companion planting, like bigger plants.
Exactly. Noted as guilds, right?
Guild, there you go.
Yeah. So you'd have a guild of many different perennials that complement each other for many different reasons. Whether it's complementing feeding roots and kind of like wicking moisture in the soil. Plants share like nutrients. The tree will gather nutrients and minerals from fuck all the way across my garden and transport those minerals to like shit that's all the way on the other side of my garden through the life cycle of everything within the garden. And so you don't necessarily have to have a nitrogen feeder right here to only be feeding what's around it. That nitrogen feeder could be feeding shit on the other side of your garden, like just through the cycle of life. So don't think you just, you have to have hedgerows everywhere. It's good to use hedgerows for many reasons. Wind breaks, solar cover, pollinators, pests, prevention, and just the balance of life, water transpiration. Like there's all kinds of reasons to have pollinator gardens, you know.
Just a place for predator insects to have like fucking homes and shit.
Yeah. Great for IPM. That's the main reason I started was with IPM. I started doing it with IPM. And if you're talking annuals, if you don't have a big garden like that, you can use like basil, rosemary, stuff that just grows in a seed, stuff you can even get at the box store. You know what I mean? I would definitely suggest getting a seed pack. It's the same price as a plant. You get 10 times the number of plants. You start them out. But some of the dill, let the dill flower. Let these plants flower.
Plant dill once, you'll have it forever.
You'll have it forever. Let it flower once and go to seed, and you'll fucking have it forever. But the cool thing about dill is that flower is like 6 feet tall, 5 feet tall, 4 feet tall.
Too.
It's as tall as your cannabis plant is. And so when you're talking about the horizons in the soil, I like to think of the horizons in the atmosphere. And, you know, trees are 50 feet tall. So there's pest pressure all the way up, right? You know, I like to have
I've seen those little wasps, those little predator wasps all over dill. I've seen them all over.
Yeah, dude. And if that dill's about this high, you know, it's about this. Cannabis plants about, well, you know, modest cannabis plants about this high, you know, you're going to have all of your predators focused in that horizon. Sunflowers, if you want to go up a little higher, those get up a little bit taller, but it keeps all your predators. And I'm considering predators as bees and wasps. And dragonflies and praying mantis and all of these plants that are all over those plants, you know, and they'll keep not only your cannabis clean, but all of your other plants clean.
Yeah, you want some ladybugs on your chamomile plants. They'll be eating up the thrips.
Chamomile's a good banker for thrips, I believe. And,
yeah, definitely is. They love it. They love the pollen on it.
I love just having a basic brassica garden. Well, for many reasons. Brassicas are great for many reasons, but they'll attract aphids like crazy. You have aphids all over your brassicas. You just spray them off with a hose because, well, a kale plant, you can hit it with a hose and it's not going to damage the kale plant at all, but you're going to kill the fuck out of your aphids. You know what I mean? You just hit them with a hose.
They can't climb all the way back to the plant. They're fucked.
Yeah, they're not.
I found that out one year. I had this live. I think it's probably 2-3 maybe years ago now. I know I've talked about it on the show, but I think it was aphids. Is whatever it was, is white bugs crawling up the stems, right? Is that's aphids?
Could be white.
Yeah, usually.
No, it wasn't white flies. It was aphids. You know, real thick up the stem, right? Like, and right up the main stem of this big ass lime skunk I had outdoors. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just grab the hose with the nozzle on that thing, turn that thing on the jet, and just spray it. And I did one time, man. They never made it back. Never made it back. This is probably like
that may have been the only population, and they were already there, you know, and you just.
It's a lot of energy to fucking repopulate that spot, you know.
I'm not gonna lie, I did the same. It's just I just call it physical removal, and it's like you're not gonna get fucking immune to that shit, dude. And it works. And fucking like I would just like go do a dab and then go out to my potato plants, and there's potato bugs out there on the plants early on, and I'm like, all right, motherfuckers, grab a leaf, like
war,
bing. Bing, bing, and you know the birds and the fucking whatever else, predators and beetles and whatever are gonna fuck them up before they get anywhere near that plant again. So it's like you spend one afternoon out there fucking flicking the bitches, feel good about it. Every one, you're just like, yeah.
I mean,
you should like you know what you should do? You should put them in a mason jar and then put them right next to your bird feeder and just watch them go ham.
If I'm feeling extra like diabolical, I'll take a
torch.
Bowl.
Oh, you sick!
Oh, not a torch because I don't want to fuck my plants up. That's a great idea. Fire's always fun. But a bowl of water with a little bit of dish soap in it, like Dawn dish soap or something that breaks the surface tension of the water.
Yeah,
put them into that, and they'll sink into it and drown. So you can sit there and just fucking drown every one of them and make sure that they die. Not that they die, you know, for sure. Instead of just leaving them up.
And you know what the beauty of that is? It's still bird food. You can give it to your chickens or whatever, the birds or whatever. Just
The birds will love that shit. Oh my god, the chickens will
Yeah.
love potato bugs.
Yeah, dude. So, anybody wondering what a good option for soap would be? Dr. Bronner's or just a basic Castile soap, just a good old fashioned, no chemical Castile soap. Would be your best bet. Dr. Bronner's, all that stuff is organic. It's not going to harm your garden.
wait, so it shouldn't be Lysol flavored.
Yeah, it shouldn't be name brand Lysol name brand.
It shouldn't be radiator fluid. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, don't use Freon. Don't use gasoline.
I was just gonna hexane them right off the edge of my plants. And,
Dude, I
call it
mean,
a day.
gasoline would probably be fine after a while, but you're gonna kill stuff.
Gasoline would be wonderful. Just like put some gasoline in a mason jar, right? Fill only a third of it up with gasoline. Flick those fuckers into there. Step back, get a rag, and do the old Molotov on that bitch.
Molotov, oh my goodness!
We are trying to avoid bird food as much as possible. We are not.
He really just wants to have fun. Okay.
Russ does not like bird poop.
Hey, I want to burn off all of the volatile, unsafe chemicals, man.
Just in case they have eggs.
It's called purging.
Set your beard on fire too again.
Beard on fire.
Got
dude.
him.
I do that for the people, man. Show
Yeah,
on
it's
tape.
been a while. Why don't we do that again?
Now we got it on tape. We don't need to do it again and again. We can
we
play
just
it over and
replay
over.
that one.
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
Well, I'll ask. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was so freaking scary when that happened. I can't still believe that even happened. Gosh.
Yeah, it was surprising to me too. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's been too many times where I'm just going to light even just a joint. I'm just like, oh, I'm doing one of these things like okay, later.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that Becca fell asleep. That's probably why she didn't come say hi.
Sorry, she probably deserves it.
On her behalf, I will say hi, guys. She wanted to come say hi to everybody. She was putting the baby down.
Much
And
more about the
Get to sleep when the baby sleeps.
Glad she gets-
the baby's like cluster feeding, so the baby's like sleeping on the boob. So it's just kind of
I couldn't complain, man. If I had I'd do the same thing.
I'd do the same.
I'd be doing the same thing too. I come here and hang out with you guys, or I'd be on that boob. No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. I give the two of them as much space as they need. It's a very, very it's a cool time, man. It's a cool time.
How is Ruben? We got a little bit of time left. How is Ruben reacting now? He's got a few days. How's he? Is he?
Oh, he's good. He's good. He has not been in our bedroom. He's not allowed back this half of the house. We actually got one of those baby gates that has a little door. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool.
They're
It's like-
awesome. I love those.
yeah, dude. It's just like it's in the hallway, so he can't get to the side of the house. Fortunately, unfortunately, he's terrified of baby gates because we had this really low profile baby gates when he was smaller, and we'd walk over them and trip over them all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah.
Fall and
I
like,
got scared just the noise of them falling.
So loud.
and he's
So
terrified of them. So he doesn't come within like a couple feet of baby gates. So he gives it the space, and then we actually keep another baby gate even down from that a little bit further, just so he doesn't get all up in our bedroom door barking and stuff like that. But he's good. Yeah, I mean, I take the baby out there daily. Sit down on the couch with her, and he just lays right down and just chills. He's too strong. I mean, there's definitely not a point where I would ever like just lay her on the couch and go walk off and leave him to like step on her or jump on her or something like that. That's not in the cards anytime soon.
Does he get that excited around her, or does he like slow down and just sniff her?
No, he slows down and sniffs her. I'm blown away because he does not do that with me. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
it's a
sure.
completely different man. I'm blown away to witness it because I didn't think he was going to chill out. He's a very hyper dog. You guys have known that, Ruben. You know how he is
He's a
around
puppy
people.
still, basically, for sure.
He's just like you guys haven't seen him since probably like Octoberish. He's bigger, and believe it or not, he's gotten bigger, and so
I believe it.
he's pretty much full grown, like Irish setter, golden retriever size now. You know what I mean? He's a little bigger than a golden retriever, but he's lanky, he's clumsy, and he's just got huge paws and a lot of fur. You know what I mean? Not hair, not like fake hair dogs, not human hair dogs. You know those human hair dogs? Those dogs you can't keep out in the winter. This dog's got fur. You know what I mean? No offense to anybody that has human hair dogs. They're cute.
That's
whatever.
funny. That's
But
a funny
this dog
way to
has
describe
fur,
it.
You know, and he like suffocates me, dude. He'll like jump on me and I'm like, oh, the fucking dog. Mouthful of fucking puff. You know what I mean? It's like, where did you get all the fucking hair? But anyways, I digress a little bit. Dogs are awesome. We love them all. With or without human hair. And yeah, dude, he's doing great with Aurora. She likes the dog. She's cool. She likes getting out there and seeing the rest of the house, not being cooped up, you know, and in the room.
It's so fun introducing her to the chickens and all the stuff and watching her.
Really, yeah, dude, I can't wait for like this little patch of weather to go by. I've been wanting to like get her outside and do stuff out there. I can't get her for very long without her needing to be fed because her like time frame between sleeping, pooping, and then needing to feed again is like 4 minutes. So it's like
she's gonna be able to push the wheelbarrow. Fuck yes.
You know what I mean? So Becca needs to be able to like be with the baby most of the time. And we'll put some milk in a bottle and I can feed her every now and then. But she's just so small. She takes such big gulps so fast that she's not really ready for a bottle yet. She almost needs like to get a little bit bigger because the bottle's kind of. I just have to I give her hits of the bottle. It's weird. It's like, all right, you get like one little take on the bottle before you can like. It's too much, you know. But yeah, dude, it's cool figuring it out. She'll be 3 weeks old on Tuesday. It's crazy. We got 2 more days. She's 3 weeks old. Another week should be a month.
So
and the most important thing about that time frame is Becca's healing. You know what I mean? Nice. So getting Becca back to normal, back on her feet is most important because the baby's doing great, fortunately. You know, Becca's doing great too. You know, she's getting up and at it more often than not. We actually had dinner at our kitchen table the other night, which was nice. She otherwise hasn't been able to like really be comfortable anywhere in the house except for in her bed. So we're getting there.
Having her be able to come home, and whenever she was able to have her first like homemade meal was probably.
That happened. Oh, the homemade meal. Well, we got good meals in the hospital, dude. Her family was bringing pizza and pasta. And all the shit that Becca wasn't eating, you know, because being diabetic and being pregnant has a whole host of issues. If your blood sugar is not, you know, dialed in, it affects the baby a lot. And that's why we had Becca's blood sugar was dialed in. She was in the 95 percentile, 98 up there, dude. You know, she was doing so good, and we still had a 9-pound baby. You know what I mean? So imagine if it wasn't good, you know, and then 11-pound baby, is that possible? I mean, can you imagine, dude?
Oh yeah.
Whoa, it's possible, and it happens. So I mean, we're super thankful that we had a little 9-pound. I mean, she wasn't exactly 9 pounds.
A little 9 pounds.
Damn close. It's crazy because she doesn't seem. I know it's the end of the show. She doesn't seem like she's growing, but I can feel it. I can feel her getting stronger. You know what I mean? It's cool how fast that happens, you know. So resilience. It's really cool.
It's also normal for them to take a little dip right after they, you know, come home and everything, and then they start.
Yeah, she got a little bit smaller. And then
wait until you see that like 3 and 6 month report where they give you the charts based on everyone else and what percentile they're in. You'll kind of learn a lot.
The stupidest garbage ever. And then when they start.
Yeah,
running.
until you see my 1-year-old dude who's the size of a friggin' 5-year-old, and it's like, oh yeah, he was off the charts.
I know,
He's
yeah, but other
crazy.
charts for like bullshit for all my kids. They're like, say
Really?
were, and it's like, no, it's not even close.
Yeah,
But-
she was in the 90 something percentile. She's up there.
Yeah, I
What's
believe
cool is though, as soon as they learn to walk, that's my favorite. It's just like, oh shit, now it's on.
Game
Now
on.
it's on. And you
Now
realize
you got to
it's
child-proof the whole house.
It's just one of those moments, especially when you're the first time your first kid. It's like one of those moments you're like just so fucking proud when they could take their first steps, right? That iconic moment. But then it sinks in. Oh shit! Now I'm gonna be more terrified than I've ever been in my whole fucking life because they can go and they can go fast.
Dude, I can already see it. She's already like doing this. She's already a worm. You know what I mean? Like, okay, wait, you were still a week ago. You weren't moving. Now you're this little squiggly thing. I'm waiting for her to like roll around off the bed or something. I'm like, oh geez.
The first time that you wake up in the morning, they got out of their swaddle. You're like, how do you get out of that straitjacket anyway? And they're like,
There's-
one arm out. You're like, whoa, what is going on? How are they getting out of these things?
There's so many moments like that.
She looks like a little starfish. She's just stuck
In between the swaddling, and I guess sometimes I was gonna say in between the swaddling and the walking, but usually after the walking is the climbing out of the crib is a moment. That's a scary one. But then we found out last summer, I guess he was 1 at that point still as well. He can't do this at my house, but at my parents' house, he was opening the front door. So if it wasn't locked, he could open
Oh,
the freaking
goddamn.
front door.
Shit.
And I'm just like, order the alarms, get the door alarms, all these fucking doors right now. Order them.
Yeah.
Like
Shit,
this is
dude.
game over. Well, we love you guys. We can't wait to see
everybody.
Becca back here. We miss her.
I will
Very
send
excited
love
for
to
you
her, guys.
Of
Give her a
course.
big hug for me.
Much love.
Take care of
everyone.
her.
Yeah, thank you, chat, everybody. I think Fergoli said he wasn't able to make the show next week. It sounds like we may or may not have a show next week. Probably not have a show next week.
I'd take a
Then-
week off, yeah.
Then we'll come back in 2 weeks, and then we'll do another Indigo Rose giveaway.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get 100 viewers, and then we'll do an Indigo Rose.
100 viewers.
We got real close.
I'll get it set up early this time.
Yeah, me too. And we'll even talk about it early this time.
Yeah. Remind me. But we'll see you guys in March.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.